Worthy, oh, worthy, oh, worthy.
Bettye LaVette, I got her, she's all mine. And we're at a hip room, a romantic room, really. A room with a lot of tradition and class, the Cafe Carlyle.
Yes.
A room that, with which you are intimately familiar.
Yes.
You've played this room, and you're about to play it again.
Starting the 27th of January.
Coming in on the 27th of January,
Yes.
the Cafe Carlyle.
Yes.
Who would have, I mean, it's a room that I would never have pictured when you first came on the scene and I got to play with you. I mean, not first came on the scene, but in one of your many resurgencies.
Well, I certainly thought that my last resurgence would be here. I said, well, if Bobby Short dies, and I want that gig. I mean, long before when Eartha Kitt had it, I wanted it.
Want it.
So I had a lot of years to go through it. I used to stand around outside out here, and they say, "Ma'am, you have to move along. You can't hang around here."
Peer in and listen to Eartha Kitt. I saw her in this room, and I saw you in this room. Mm-hmm. You absolutely, fit the room. And now you're bringing in your own style, I understand, of Americana, rootsy Americana. Can I say rock?
I don't really know. I don't know. I've never been hindered by categories in terms of the song's a rock song or a country western song. Whatever they are, they're rhythm and blues after I sing them.
How much of this new album are you going to be doing live at the Cafe Carlyle?
Oh, we'll be doing a little over half of it. If I get happy, I may do it all.
Are you loose that way when you perform in front of an audience? Do you go?
Not really. I'm really pretty rigid. My band and my husband try to get me to change things, but if it works, I tend to hang on to it for a while. In a place like this, I'm more inclined to respond to someone requesting something than I am in a big venue. I don't adhere to requests at all. But
see.
If it's an intimate place and you're right there and you're like, sing this, when I would say, no.
Now you've made a new record.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be doing about half the material from the record when you come in here. And then you're going to supplement it with
all of my other career.
Stuff. How about this new career? I'm interested in it. I mean, are you going to have this kind of sound when you come in here? Is it going to sound like this new record?
Certainly, it'll get softer. Because I choose songs that are actual songs that can be sung with just a piano.
Yes.
You can do almost anything I've ever recorded in my life with just a piano. And I figured that if you can't do it with just a piano, it ain't really a song.
Oh, here. I am so with you on that.
I know you are.
The definition of a song has changed.
Yes, it has.
In the modern era, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
It's someone sitting down with a computer and making a 2-bar loop of a drum beat. Really, and then playing that
Oftentimes.
for 3.5 minutes, and putting a bass line, taking the bass line right out, throwing it away, destroying.
Well, you know what? I'm not as hung up about synthesizing as you and my husband probably are, but it still goes back to the song. If the song is there, there's very little you can do to impair it. If the person can sing the song and the song is there, you can put synthetic horns, bass, drums, piano, anything you want on it, if it's there. But when there's no there anyway, and then you put all this on top of it.
Well, that's, Now, what about you and you choose a song? And I read that you will not even consider singing a song unless you can live inside that song. Am I paraphrasing it? Am I getting it right?
Well, it would be a paraphrase because there are some things that are silly that if they're silly enough, I'll sing them. But the song has to be believable to me. It either has to be genuinely funny or it has to have something to do with me so that I can tell you how I felt about it. Mostly if it's something that happened to someone else, I don't sing about it. Even if I have to sing in those terms. But mostly I personalize all of my songs. In this new CD, Worthy, a popular song by the Rolling Stones, Complicated, which I really, really like, but I wanted it to be about me. So
Yeah.
I changed the lyrics to put it in the first person, whereas Mick is singing about his girlfriend, I guess, or a girl.
Oh, well, of course. You are the woman about whom he was singing. It only makes sense. Now, I read another thing I found so interesting when you were preparing to make this album, especially me as a keyboard player, and you'll understand why. But you can clear this up for me. But you said, I will not sing a song unless I can relate to it. A. B. No organ. I don't want any organ on this record.
Well, it's
What is that about, Bettye LaVette?
I would be perfectly frank with you. I think that just like soul music, as it's being called itself,
Yeah.
the organ is something that has always been there for black people. And then white people certainly got fascinated with it, and they're just everywhere. Those horrible organs in the 60s on those British tunes, they were just terrible. And then the other ones that are really soulful are usually played at funerals.
Yeah.
Or then when we had the little spate of organists during the Jimmy Smith period,
Right.
now that was good.
Okay.
But then it got back to moaning and droning
Yes.
again, and I'm moaning and droning, so I don't want somebody else to
All
moan.
right, you don't need
Well,
that.
everybody else kind of.
Okay.
But we have a lot of organ on this. But Patrick was just so talented. He kept disguising the organ for me, and I think that it was helpful to him too, because I think he learned about 19 other ways to play an organ, because he had
Yeah.
to keep hiding it from me.
He was playing it in the style of that rootsy R&B thing. The sound that you get on this.
And then the other things, I mean, the Chamberlain and the Calliope sound that he got for Complicated. You just did. That was why I wanted the solo on Complicated to primarily be keyboards, all kinds of keyboards. And if you listen to it closely, you'll hear just every kind of keyboard. And every once in a while, you'll hear a little bit of guitar or whatever. But it's all kinds of keyboards.
You are really. It sounds like you were almost a co-producer on this record.
No, actually, I am in fact the co-producer on this record.
Oh, well, excuse me.
And probably anything else I do now into my 70s, you would probably not be able to do anything to me or for me alone.
You are, in other words, your sound is your sound.
But that's all. I don't think of myself as a producer. I think of myself as my producer. I there's maybe some other artists that I could produce. I believe I could produce Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett?
Yeah, or anybody else.
What would
who-
you do with him, with Tony Bennett? How would you produce
I would
him?
probably take some of the good songs that have been done in the last 20 years and do them on him. Like when I chose Choices by George Jones, I would take, or Old Soldiers by Elton John, I would take some of the good songs that have been written in the last 30 or 40 years and do those on him. But I wouldn't try and get him to sing with anybody young or
No.
sing any youthful sounding songs.
Yeah. Songs that are appropriate.
Yeah.
Appropriate to him and his life. Boy, that'd be an interesting project.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
If you need any kind of a moaning organ on it,
That's what I'm saying.
you know who to
See
call.
now, and it would sound unusual. A black voice and a moaning organ, it just sounds like you're at church.
so bad,
A
yeah.
white voice and a moaning organ, it's like, wow, that sounds different.
I want to ask about this record. I've got a small list of tunes that you approach.
Okay.
Can we just talk really just briefly about each one?
Sure.
First of all, the album's called Worthy. It's named after one of the songs. Tell me about that song.
Well, it was the last song that I got. We got it just a few days before recording. But I knew the moment I heard it that was the title I wanted the album to be. I knew that was what I wanted to say. But just like in the song, it says, what a thing to claim. I felt really embarrassed to say it, although I felt I was right in saying it. I refused to have my picture on the front of it. I refused to have the words worthy big
Oh.
because it is what a thing to claim. I'm worthy. That's quite a statement to make. So I wanted to say it, but I wanted to be as small as possible. I just wanted you to hear it.
Love it. You got the song, you were already recording?
No, we hadn't started, but I had chosen all the songs.
I see, and this one came in. It was the last one to come in. Are you a quick study when a song comes in like that and you fall in love with it, you want to do it?
Oh, if I really, really fall in love with it, I learn melodies. I don't really learn words. I think I got out of learning words when my record started to flop. What's the use of having all those words up in your head? So I just learned the melodies, and then if they sell, I learn the words.
I love it. You got the melodies right, too.
Yeah.
You respect the song.
Yes, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you can follow the melodies, what my former manager Jim Lewis always told me about Lush Life, he said just learn the song. It doesn't make any difference whether anybody else knows it. You learn.
You learn it. What musicians did you use on this record? Did you have a consistent band for all these cuts?
No, these two of them we had used, Joe Henry and I had used on my first album. He and I first started working together, Hell to Raise, and that was Chris
Joe
Bruce.
Henry, excuse me, but he's the co-producer on this?
Yes.
With you?
And he produced my first CD with this most recent career.
Yes, okay.
And we, on the first one, we had Chris Bruce on guitar, and this time we had him on guitar and bass.
Oh.
And on the first one, we had Doyle Bramhall, the second, on bass. And I don't know if we used anybody else. Jay Belleros is on drums on this one, and Patrick Warren, who these guys is as if they came together and turned into my band for me. You know, they weren't just playing tracks that I would come and sing on. They actually, well, I always start my sessions with me singing the song, how I'm going to sing it. Now, when I was younger and before I became co-producer, it was like, okay, y'all think of what you want to do to go with that. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, y'all think of what I want you to do to go with this. And they did.
Here it is. And when you demonstrate the song then for the band, do you do it a cappella?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first
none
one,
of them know it yet.
No, the first one, I came over to Joe's house. I sat on the floor at his feet. He was sitting like this. I sat right here, sang every one of the tunes a cappella. He said, well, okay then. They were so good and just so helpful and so generous. Everybody, I think it's because, Paul, too, they're sick of seeing me every year. It's like, did that one make it? No, let's try it again. I think they really tried harder this time. We got to get rid of this broad, really. We got to.
Where do you go to make these? Where do you cut these records?
Well, I recorded this one at Joe Henry's studio, the Garfield House in Pasadena, California.
Okay.
And just the President Garfield had the house built for his wife just before he died.
Oh.
And the house is just beautiful. Although, as Joe describes it, it was sitting down in a hole on a hill when he got it. But he and Melanie fell in love with it, and the house is just fabulous.
This is Joe.
Joe Henry.
He lives there?
Yeah.
And he's
And
got
the
a
whole basement
studio
is his
there.
studio. Yeah.
Beautiful. It sounds like you know exactly what you want when you go in and with these songs. What is Joe's function then?
Well, to find me the people to provide what I want.
Oh.
Really, he finds everything I need to. He pretty much knows what I'm going to ask for. Off time, he knows which way I'm going to go. Even if he doesn't know which way I'm going to go, he knows how I'm going to go that way. So he finds people for me to bastardize and pick on.
Okay, your words, not mine. And what about who? Do you bring the songs in, or does he?
Well, generally, yeah, I do. But when I'm starting to record, I'm open to all songs from anywhere. And my husband, who is a music enthusiast, and I'm not, he's willing to listen to all of these songs and narrow it down to 100 or so. And then all I have to do is pick 10 or 12.
Tell me about your husband. He is your
My husband, Kevin Kiley, is he looks for all these songs, but you have to realize he's not being mistreated. He really likes to listen to all these songs, and I really don't. So he narrows it down for me. Certainly we got Stop from Joe Henry, and Joe brought Worthy and Undamned. And three of the other ones I've been trying to get somebody to let me do for the last 10 years, Stop included. So when I told Joe I want to do Stop, I said, here's a tune I've been trying to do for 10 years and nobody will let me do it. He said, what is it? I said, Stop. He said, well, I'm not going to stop you.
No, I'll say he's not. I love this title, Just Between You and Me and the Wall.
I love it.
Talk about that.
Kevin let me hear the Amazing Rhythm Aces when we first got married. It was kind of like he married me. Said, now I've got her here now, so I'm going to make her listen to all these songs she needs to know.
When did you get married?
We've been married, it'll be 12 years in July.
Beautiful.
And he when I wake up in the morning, sometimes I have to pretend to be asleep. If he knows I'm woke, he'll, it's too early for songs.
Singing,
it's too early.
Pitching material to you.
Well, just songs. Sometimes it's just so I love you song.
Yeah.
And I know most wives would say, oh, that's so romantic. But usually I'm hungover in the morning. He's not, so he wants to sing these songs to me.
When he's bringing you
But he's full of music, and I love that. I married music. He thought he did, but I married music.
I married music. I think that's your next title for your next album.
That is a good title.
What's he thinking of when he's pitching you these songs, like for your next album, say? Does he have a sound in mind for
No,
your
not really. He leaves it up to me. But when I'm listening to the songs, they're like choosing a lover. I immediately know who I want to be intimately involved with and who I don't. So I don't have to like listen. If you don't sell me the song immediately, it can't get better. Now maybe the words can get stronger as it goes along if I like the melody. But if I don't like the melody and I don't like the first words I heard, it can't get better. You can't. A song doesn't wear on me. You never hear me say, "Oh, well, I didn't like it at first, but I."
Never.
No, if I didn't like it, I didn't like it because I'm not listening to it as a fan.
What about somebody else's song? Has it ever happened to you with a song you hear on the radio, you didn't like it at first, then you do?
No.
No.
You can't sell me a song.
No.
You have to go on and sell me the song. You can't sell me a song over a period of time.
No way. Where did you come from? Where the hell where did you come from?
I came from the north end of Detroit, which is the same place across the alley Smokey Robinson came from. Northern High School, which is where Melvin Franklin came from, the Temptations. And the North End was it's the oldest place in Detroit for blacks. So by the time other people our ages, it was because our parents did, we lived there. But had we been parents, we would have gone to the West Side or downtown or whether. But North End is the first place that blacks came to in Detroit.
Yes. Are you like a contemporary age-wise of Melvin Franklin?
No, all of the people who were singing in 1962 when my first record came out were from 10 to about 4 years older than me. I think Aretha's about 4 years older than me, and Levi Stubbs and Four Tops are about 10 years older.
Yes.
So they're all, Stevie Wonder is the youngest one of my group. You know, of the people who started from 1962 and went on through that.
When you came out in '62 as a recording artist, were you doing a Motown style?
No. That wasn't the thing to do. It's so hard for people to understand that. Motown was just a little bitty company in Detroit.
Yes.
And I was with Atlantic, the biggest black record company in the world. Yes. So Berry Gordy wanted to be with Atlantic. I had
so
no
when you
desire
were
to be
on
with
Atlantic,
Motown.
who were the artists? Was this the time of the Drifters?
Well, when I came, the Drifters were still there. Solomon was just coming back.
Okay, so
he and I think left and came back more times than anybody. Ray Charles had just left.
And Aretha?
Aretha hadn't come yet.
Had not come yet. So was this Joe Turner time?
No, Joe Turner had just left. 62 was just at the end of
the Coasters.
Of the beginning, the Coasters. I don't think the Coasters were recorded for anyone at the time I joined, but they were always associated with Atlantic. Benny King was still there. Otis Redding had just been signed to Fire, which was owned by Atlantic. There was Fire, Volt, and Stax. And to
Oh,
my
Volt,
mind, all
yes,
of those
Stax,
things
Volt.
belonged to Atlantic. You should have seen me having a fit when I first had to record for Atco, because I felt like all the other things weren't really Atlantic. They were just their little children or whatever.
Yes, you want to be on
But
Atlantic.
I was on Atlantic, and so I thought that my record was bigger than Otis's or anybody else on any of the other labels.
Yeah. Now, where did you make your records for Atlantic? New York
In
City?
Detroit.
Oh, made it
Detroit.
cut it in Detroit. I see.
Oh, it was years.
With what
years.
musicians?
There was Leroy Manuel. I was 16. He was
Uh-huh.
14, and he's playing that lead guitar on My Man. And he, since then, had moved to Canada and has become very big there. He's like, I was so stunned when I walked into the auditorium there at Massey Hall, and they said, "Someone's here to see you," and I'm like, and he was so tall, he was so grown.
Wow.
Yeah, and who else? Timmy Shaw played piano. Johnny May and her boyfriend and Timmy Shaw singing in the background. And we just found out the other day that Johnny May Matthews was one of the first people to hire James Jamerson. So we think it may be been him on the record, but the only people I remembered, the rest of them were grown people to me, so they weren't interesting. But Leroy was my age.
Yeah.
So whenever between takes or whatever, I talked to him.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything to talk about with them.
Wow. Now, did you tour with Otis Redding?
No, when you were on the same label, they would put you together for shows, other artists on that same
Okay.
label. So they had a Clyde McPhatter, Benny King, Otis Redding, me, and then the offsides were Barbara Lynn and Clarence Frogman Henry. They were just a part of the show, but it wasn't a tour. Otis kept dropping in and out, and I think, and Clarence Frogman Henry did as well. But Clyde McPhatter, and Benny King did. Clyde McPhatter, Barbara Lynn, and we were there. But they kept dropping out, like they won't be here Tuesday, but they'll be here Thursday. And it went on, I guess, for 30 days.
What was Clyde McPhatter like? Clyde
Oh,
McPhatter.
just the sweetest person in the world, and I could just see all of his melodies. His voice bugged him for a while because it was so lithe. It was 12 shades lighter than mine, and
Light.
when he spoke, it was the same thing. And I think he really became disillusioned with that. As he got older, you don't necessarily want to sound like a young girl. So I think he was greatly disillusioned with that, but just a wonderful person. And this had been my favorite singer growing up, and I just stood there. Every time he opened his dressing room door, I was standing there. I was just kind of standing there, looking at the water fountain, or just waiting for the door to open.
What were his hits that you loved?
Lover's Question was the main thing.
Yeah.
And Money Honey. Money Honey was one of the first songs that I ever knew. My family during that period, the late 40s, had a jukebox in our living room. They sold corn liquor in Western Michigan, where there was staunch segregation. So if you wanted a drink, you had to come by my house. And they sold drinks and chicken sandwiches, and we had the jukebox, and people danced, but there was no gambling, or you couldn't meet your girlfriend there, or whatever. People's wives and husbands. Maybe some wife would come by and drag her husband out because he's spending all the money on drink. But that was about it. But these songs were on the jukebox, and I think that at that time Clyde was still with the Drifters, so I liked Money Honey and whatever they had out at that time. By the time we moved to Detroit, Lover's Question came out, and that was my mom's favorite tune.
Moved to Detroit from?
Muskegon, Michigan.
Oh, that's where is that's outside of Detroit.
No, it's actually right across the state, across Lake Michigan from Chicago.
From Chicago. Okay, then you moved into Detroit. Then you recorded at a very young age. You were influenced by Clyde McPhatter.
I guess I was influenced by Clyde McPhatter, Mahalia Jackson.
Gospel.
Red Foley,
Country.
These are the people that were on the jukebox. My mother loved country music
Okay.
and gospel music.
All right.
My father loved contemporary blues and gospel. So
okay.
all of that was on the jukebox.
Okay.
And I didn't think of it gospel songs. I just thought
No.
of they were all singers. They were in
Yeah.
that jukebox, and I didn't know how they got in there.
Right.
And I didn't think I'd never seen a singer. We didn't have any television.
Yeah.
Nobody in my house went to a nightclub because we lived in a nightclub. So
Yeah.
I'd never seen a microphone or people walk up to it and sing. I thought they were all in the jukebox. I didn't know how they got in
Yeah.
there, but that's where I thought they were.
All those influences.
And I never thought I could get in there.
Yeah, I think you got in. You managed to get in. It's fun in there, isn't it?
It is. It
Oh.
tickles.
Everybody's in there.
Indeed.
Now you're bringing them out. And all the influences, I think, are coming out
I think so too.
in this new record.
I'm discovering more about myself as I go along because I thought of myself in isolation for so long, and now I'm beginning to see different little things in my voice that I picked up from Lil Willie John and from Ray Charles, and I think I didn't before because I kept trying to identify with a female whom I don't sound like at all. So when I started to listen to the guys, I said, "Oh, I sound just like him."
Oh.
And that saved me because I thought I didn't sound like anybody because I didn't sound like the females.
Right.
Yes.
Well, you have a totally original sound, absolutely original. But now I see that it is really a combination of all of these things, gospel and country.
Mm-hmm.
You know, besides the R&B and the light voice, but male singers influencing you.
Oh, absolutely.
What about Otis Redding?
Oh, absolutely. You know, from Otis, I learned to do a real intense show and just to cast everything aside. His nose was running, he was slobbering. He just looked horrible on stage. It was a long time before I could do that because I wanted to look very cute when I was singing. So I might say, but I said, because I didn't want it to mess up my face or my makeup or whatever.
Yes, but you...
But after I got the point of that, I said, just
Yeah.
take them to bed with you on the stage. And that's
Beautiful.
really what Otis did. I've never seen anybody work as hard as he and James Brown, and their shows were completely different. James's was just a hard-working, grooving show. And unless he sung Try Me, he wasn't really saying anything, the words, which is I feel good or whatever.
Yeah.
But Otis was singing these and the audience
yeah.
was like,
Oh.
So
Yeah.
he was singing an intense show that really was intense.
One thing, we have a number of live albums of Otis that we can refer to and listen to his live shows, and we can hear James Brown, too, live at the Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
The tempo's way up in the sky. Fast, 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 fast.
But
the
Paul,
hits that we know, but bang, 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 bang.
if you were there at the Apollo with him,
Yeah.
you would have wanted them to be faster.
Faster.
Yes.
What is it?
Because every day they had 4 shows,
Oh, yeah.
but with James you had 6. So you wanted him to do it as fast as he could. Every time I came off the stage, the half was in. Time I came off, I had to get dressed. And that went on till midnight. Pop, 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 pop. There was no break between the shows. It was, I went on first, so I had the whole show to kind of be off, but the person who came on, whoever that was, right before James,
Ah, how interesting.
had no.
And Otis Redding in Paris, though, you hear your da 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 da.
I don't know why he raised his. Unless
So
it was
fast.
just because
The
James Brown did it.
Temptations live.
But see, Joe, Otis didn't dance. Now, to see
did not-
someone
didn't dance.
glide across the floor like this here, that fast, that's fascinating. But with Otis not dancing, I have no idea why he did his like that. Now, the Temps, you were saying, they were trying to get as much into as short a time as possible. You know, those medleys and whatever. Which every time I put one together, my husband talks about it so bad I have to hide it.
No, we don't want it's not.
How can you get 97 songs in a show without being Bruce Springsteen?
You can't. Yeah, you're not going to do.
So
4
you try
hours.
to get a little bit of every one of them.
Yes, all right. When
You're
when you
opposed to
come
them
into the
too.
Carlyle, will you be doing any medleys?
Nah.
No.
And nowhere else, probably.
Well, you're. Some would consider medleys to be too clubby, to do
I
night.
thought they were kind of clever to
Yes,
get.
well,
Okay, here's
you've
a little
been-
bit of down, down, bow, bow, down. You got to smile so bright.
Oh, the Temptations medleys, of course.
I
yeah.
think they're
And
great.
at lightning speed, yes.
Well, I don't think they should be that fast. Now, I'm opposed to the fast ones, but I do like the medleys.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if they're constructed so you can every once in a while get a
And they bring it down.
because of
Yeah.
you or whatever.
I wish you bluebirds
There you
in the
go.
spring.
Yeah. Let
Yes,
it
a
kind
little
of mellow
bit.
down like that. But I
Yeah.
love medleys, and especially when it's, and I think you can do a verse of each song.
Ah.
And if you do the verse all the way down to the chorus, all
Yeah.
you're doing is it again. So all you're really listening for is the word you liked.
Yeah.
You've already heard the song.
All right, you've already heard the song. Move on to the next. Now, let's get back to the new record, though. You're certainly not going to be doing medleys of these.
No.
Here's a title that interests me because it's just such an interesting title. Just Between You and Me and the Wall.
You're a fool.
That's
That's-
part of the title too.
Yeah.
Just between you and me and the wall, you're a fool.
Well, that was enough right there.
Yeah.
That was absolutely enough. It's like being named Engelbert Humperdinck or something. You want to know more about
All right.
it.
Yeah. So
But that
song.
was another one that's been around for a long while, and I finally got a chance to do it.
I don't blame you. Hilarious. And this one it must be autobiographical in some way. When I was a young girl.
Oh, it's got to be. Isn't it autobiographical for all of us?
Well, how did you relate to it?
I related to it just like that. In fact, I was talking to the young lady who does my hair, and she was talking about her business and how she said, and everybody's trying to tell me all these things, and I'm just not listening to any of them. And I said, when I was a young girl, I said, really, you just will not take any advice when you're young. It's the rare young individual who does not think they know everything. And that's how that song struck me. And that's why I kept dragging it around for 10 years, trying to get somebody to let me do it. And then when we did it, even Joe wasn't that excited about it. And then when we did it, he's like, where'd you get that from?
Oh, I love it. The sound of this record is certainly very stripped down. In no way is the orchestration ever going to overpower you and these lyrics. It's all seems to be really built right around you. Mm-hmm. Your voice at the center of it, everything else just complementing it.
Yes, the air around me is just, but you can still hear every single thing that everyone is doing. I mean, everyone.
Yeah.
I even heard Jay Bellarosa's foot move at one point. I mean, you can hear everything.
Yeah.
It's just me out there, but not by myself.
Space is not, yes, space is so important. They give you your space to really emote.
Yes.
How big a band are you going to have when you come in and say
Just
to
4
the
pieces.
Carlyle? 4 pieces in here. How many was it on the record?
4.
Just 4.
I can't, if it's more, they confuse me.
Is that really?
Too many things going on at one time.
Right.
No, but it was just 4, and it'll just be 4. Because it's about the words, and it's not necessarily about lights or smoke or costume or anything else. I really don't need a lot to present the words. I just need a palette, to step out on and be comfortable. And while I do some dancing, the kind of dancing I do is not, synchronized and everybody moving at the same time. I'm just dancing by myself, so all I need is a
What are you talking about? In your show, you mean? You do some dancing?
Well, it's, in the 60s when you started, when you did the solo, you either played an instrument or you did a routine.
Yeah,
And
a
that's
routine.
just stayed
Yes.
in my head. When
Yes.
when it gets to the solo, I can't just stand there and do this.
Speaking of the 60s now, you appeared on Shindig. This to me is the Bible, the Holy Grail. As far as the hit acts of the day, country, R&B, British, you know, Jackie Wilson, to the Trogs, you know, and everybody in between, and there you were. And I can't help it. I'm fascinated by it. I gotta ask you, what do you remember about the experience?
I remember everything about it. I remember that.
First of all, from what I read, most of the acts pre-recorded their music and then sang live for the camera on top of a pre-recorded track. Am I right about that?
Yeah. The band made you a new track, and it's so funny.
A new track of your record, though.
It's so but that was so funny to me
it.
because I didn't see the point of making a new track.
Right.
Exactly like the record, just have the company sing you a clean track.
If it existed, the instrumental track, but it was part of the thing. We got to hear how the Shindig Band would.
Got a chance to have Billy Preston on
organ,
on keys,
yeah.
and
I mean,
who was back with the Blossoms in the background.
Pretty good house band.
And the Righteous Brothers, who were just the funniest people. They told me so many jokes, they almost made me lose my voice.
I love it.
Every time it was like, okay, let me tell you this one. Let me tell you, and it was either the other one. Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
And I remember all the jokes, and I still tell them to this day.
Sounds like a camaraderie.
It was just an absolute fun
and then they would all, by the end of it, everybody would be working together. Righteous Brothers on stage with the Trogs, and then you in the middle of it. And did you experience a thing like that?
Oh, I thought it was just absolutely wonderful. And you have to remember, I was like, I just turned 18.
Ouch.
I mentioned to you in conversation before that I should have chosen the Ed Sullivan Show. Because that would have taken me much farther.
What do you mean chosen? You had a choice?
My record company, who was so powerful at the time, even though they were small,
yes.
Everybody who knows who was behind them know they were mighty. And they said, which television show do you want to do? And I said, Shindig, because I was 18.
Of course you
If I had been sane, like a grown person, I would have done Ed Sullivan.
Well... You get and look around.
I wanted to be where all my friends were.
You
People were
to,
dancing, and
that's what you wanted. With Jimmy O'Neill. But instead, and who needs it now? Right here on stage. Yeah.
That's what I needed.
Yes. Well, listen. But meanwhile, cut to here we are, all these decades later, and we're at the Cafe Carlyle. And you are prolific, maybe more prolific now than ever in your career.
Oh, yeah.
A regular recording schedule, new material coming out at all times, a great new album called Worthy. And you're worthy of all the success that you've had and the longevity of a career. People don't get a career like this.
No, but I think that young people, especially little people who go on the little Star Search and American Idol or whatever, I don't think that they understand that it could take 50 years to become successful and not 13 weeks.
Here is an intriguing title that I got to ask you about. One of the cuts on your new album, "Where a Life Goes."
That tune, the moment that Kevin played it for me, I knew that I wanted to sing it because of my sister who passed away at 42 years old. She was 13 years older than me, and so she was pretty much my mother up until just before she died. And then we became best friends. We talked continuously. It was like she was waiting for me to grow up so she could tell me all these things and I could tell her all the things I know. And we talked so much, Paul, we used to sleep together. And then we would shower together so we could keep the conversation going in the shower till we got dressed to go out. But when I heard this song, I said, that's what I'd ask her. What's it like where you are? Do you know where you are? Do you even sleep? Or what you wearing? That would be what I would ask her more than likely. And when I heard these lyrics by Randall Bramblett, I knew I had to sing that. I didn't know whether anybody else was going to like it or it was going to make the album, whatever. I said, I'll just sing it all to myself and cry.
Did you ever have a dream like that you were able to contact
I have
her?
never dreamed about her. I've had dreams where I knew she was there, but I didn't see her. I've never seen her again or heard her voice again, even in the dreams. I know she's there, but I don't hear her voice. I would give anything to, and they say that the more you love the person, the less likely you are to remember the sound of their voice. Well, now if it's been recorded, of course you can
Yes.
remember it.
But otherwise,
I can't hear my father's voice, and I can't.
Can't hear it.
I can't hear it in
The
my
more,
head.
because the more you love a person, the less likely you
Yeah.
are
I
to
cannot
his
hear her voice or my father's voice.
What about him? Did you?
I know how they sounded, and if
Right.
I heard it, I'd know that was them.
And
but I
right, is
can't
there
hear it.
anything recorded that you could hear?
Oh no, honey. You mean in terms of my
Of
father?
your father, yeah.
Oh no, he just always wanted me to be on stage, everyone be looking at me at all times, and for me to bow correctly.
That's what he wanted
That's
for
all
you.
he wanted. That was all he wanted. And he wanted to take me to
To
France
bow
to see
correctly.
the Queen.
Oh, it's
Not the king, the Queen.
the Queen, and to be able to bow for her to curtsy. Really?
No, he wanted me to bow.
Oh, really? Oh, in a correct manner.
Yes.
How
And
do you?
so he would be thoroughly satisfied by now.
by now to see you at the Carlyle.
Ah.
Oh, I love it. What's this one? Step Away.
A young lady from New Jersey, which is where I live now. She and my husband Kevin they've worked in local bands together and whatever. And since I've been living in New Jersey for the last 11 years, she's become a fast friend. Well, I guess 11 years isn't really fast, but I just think she's just a great writer. And when I heard that one, I just thought, just in terms as we were talking about the producing, I'm the only body here who's going to shake this thing.
I love it.
So,
I love it. And then you covered the Beatles. Which,
again,
I was going to say, yes. Well, they were good writers,
they
as it turned out.
were just, I think, some of the greatest writers of my time. I think that their tunes, I think they're some of the few writers whose songs will be around as long as the tune, I'll Be Loving You Always.
Yeah.
It'll be around as long as that.
Yes.
And you know, that's been around now for almost 100
But the one that you
years.
picked for this album, Wait, not a widely known, not one of their big hits, an album cut.
Well, I
Right.
just like to do that for people who consider themselves completely knowledgeable about everything the Beatles did. And it's so funny because Patrick Warren is one of those people, keyboard player.
Yes.
And he didn't realize it was Wait until he sat down to play it. He didn't recognize it from me singing it. When he started to play it, he said, I know this song.
Ah.
So I like to do that.
Yeah, well, you did it, and you turned the song on its head and really brought out Mysterioso
I think it's a beautiful song.
quality in it.
I really think it's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
It's the way they would have sung them had they been grown at the time.
That's yeah. It's unbelievable, and that's how you open the
Yeah.
record with a song called Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I learned I do Bob Dylan tunes just to annoy myself. Because there's so many words. It's a challenge to see how many of them I'm going to remember on any given time. How many will I remember after a whole bottle of champagne? How many will I remember tomorrow? But the words are, and I think he only says unbelievable 3 times in this, although he does other undeniable, unbelievable.
Hey, you're adorable.
Just to remember his lyrics.
It's one of those type of songs. And you picked it, but you deliver it as you do every time you do a Dylan song with all of the, your diction is impeccable, first of all, and you bring out the meaning of these songs.
Well, here again, it's the same thing as with the Beatles. This is the way they would have done them had they been grown at the
they
time.
been. Yeah.
So I'm just like delivering the message for them.
Well, you made a very grown-up album.
It is very grown up. I'm scared of that, Paul, because so few people want to be grown now. But it's really an adult album. It really is.
You got a brand new record label.
Yes. Cherry Red. Doesn't that sound?
Cherry Red. Remember the Rolling Stones said, my favorite flavor.
Oh, really?
Cherry Red.
Well,
yeah.
the name of theirs came from the Cherry Red guitar.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
yes.
But then they had to tell me something because I kept associating it with an X-rated movie. I mean, could you say?
Well,
Cherry Red.
I say.
Yeah, so when I told them that, they explained to me how it came about. But they, once again, the Brits have helped me out. When my manager, Eric Gardner, had me leave Anti, we thought that I had become more popular in this country because of all the things that's happening, the thing with the president, all that stuff. We thought that I'd be able to get a record deal that might give me $3 or $4 more. But every major record company in America said no. They all said they loved me, though. Mm-hmm. And they all came to see my show and said, I remember you from, and we love you. But nobody would give me any money.
Okay.
So they had me out there. I've left my record company who adored me, and none of them would sign me. So we had to turn to the Brits again, who I turned to during the 60s when this country once again said, no, we like people from Britain. I said, but I'm from here.
Yes. But now, so this is a British label then that you're on, Cherry Red.
Yes.
And what was the situation with this label, Anti? What?
It wasn't anything except that Eric was trying to get me more money. You know, that's the only thing I haven't done in this business. That's the only thing I haven't done. I've learned to talk, walk, sing, everything. Pose for pictures, sign autographs. Ain't made no money. So we were going after some money. And everybody that we talked to, my homeboy Don was from Detroit, my homeboy Jack White.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all these people, and I said, well,
Love
gosh,
you.
when I see them, they're going to say, we love her.
Well,
because I'm the bridge they came across on it. They came across it in Detroit.
Yes.
They couldn't get across the bridge in Detroit without coming past me and the other musicians there in Detroit. But they, neither one of them lifted the finger to do anything. Then we got these other big people. And Eric said, well, I've known them for 50 years, or 30 years, or 50, 40 years. You know how he is.
Wow.
And he got with them, and they're like, oh, we love her. And Eric said, well, could she, well, we aren't going to sign her, but we love her.
Well, yes.
We really love her.
So Eric really has been doing some legwork for you.
Oh, honey, this poor man, I feel so sorry for him.
Good for him, though. Well,
I really do.
Let him work.
Everything that he's ever done has worked, and now he's actually got something he has to work on.
Yes. With me, he just collects the checks.
See?
You know?
And I'm spending all your money in gas money, him going back and forth for me. But he really has just done, he's done anything that comes to his mind, he tries it. Anything he thinks he can tell me. I'm so grateful for him. I don't know what to tell you.
That's beautiful. He's loyal.
And it took me 51 years to find him.
And now, are you doing a movie?
Well, I'm not doing the movie, but John Wells from CSI and Shameless and Ray Donovan and Miss Alicia Keys from Music, they've gotten together and formed a production company which has acquired the license from my book. And we're working on the screenplay. We actually have the screenplay. I have a screenplay!
Fantastic. Amazing
So
book.
we're working on that, and hopefully that'll come together before the year's end. But you know,
so.
movies are certainly not like records. They got to have a gang of dollars to do a movie.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll come through. Honey, if that happens, I'll be in the catbird seat.
It was a hell of a book.
Thank you.
You lived about 1 million lives in this book, musically and otherwise. Obviously, you bring all of that to your music.
Sure, absolutely.
One would have to.
There's no way you could not. I think when writers are always telling you, just write about your experiences. Well, I can't write, but
who's gonna play you in the movie?
Alicia at some point.
Alicia
So
Keys.
I don't know whether they're going to do it from age to age to age.
Oh.
But at some point, probably my 20 to 40
What
period.
a tour de force, for an actress to be able to play you through all
She's going to
those
seriously have to act.
I'm telling you.
But then I don't know, we don't know what her life has been like. She chose to become involved in this, and there may be some part of my life that directly identifies with hers.
Sure. Yeah. I can't wait.
I can't either. I'm so excited.
Mickey Newbury is a country writer. I'm familiar with him. He's the guy who put together the 3 songs that Elvis did when he would do Battle Hymn of the Republic and and two other songs, and it was so inspiring.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now I don't know anything. As I said at the onset, I'm not very much of a music enthusiast, so I really don't know a lot about him. But I did record "What Condition My Condition Is In."
When did you record that?
About 2 days after he did.
Back then?
Yeah. And
he
Kenny
wrote that then.
And Kenny Rogers heard it.
Yeah.
And took it to his brother, which is how I wound up in Nashville doing He Made a Woman Out of Me. So everything that's happened in my career has been done by
You Made a Woman
friends.
Out of Me by E.B. Sands? Is that?
No, by Bettye LaVette.
Ah.
It was written for
Did you? Written for you. Okay.
Yeah. And then Sister Girl did it and sold it.
Well, let's do.
Was it Bobby Gentry?
Let's
yeah.
do. Let's do a little. But just dropped in.
Okay.
Do you remember it?
Okay. Do you know what key I'm doing in, Kevin?
No idea.
Well, you just start to sing it, and I'll.
Woke up this morning with the sun down, shining in.
So,
Woke up this morning with the sun down, shining in. Found my mind in a brown paper bag within. Tripped on a cloud, filled 8 miles high. Told my mind on a jagged sky. I dropped in to see what condition my condition was in. What condition my condition was in.
yeah.
Oh, you're insane. You're
Yeah.
insane.
You sound like you sing that currently.
Well, we've
In
just
your
we're
show.
putting it back into the show now.
I love it.
And we're slowing it down. Yeah.
Ah. Yeah, I did it more Kenny Rogers, first edition.
Yeah. Well, when
So-
Kenny heard mine, he said, that's better than ours.
Of course.
And he took it to his brother. And it's so funny, he and his brother stopped speaking for quite a while until Kenny got to be really big, because he was supposed to, Leland was supposed to give Kenny some money for bringing me there. And first edition was completely broke. So
Yeah.
he really needed whatever money he would have given him, and he didn't. And they kind of stopped speaking for a little while.
Well, that's a song in itself, right there.
I
Two
love that
brothers.
song. Yeah. Two brothers, yes.
Yeah, there was one, Two Lovers.
Yeah, right, two brothers instead of two lovers.
Yeah. Well, I've got two
Two
brothers.
brothers. And they love me both the same. Paul, I appreciate you doing this so very much.
I got one thing I want you to talk about, because you mentioned it briefly a second ago. Is something about singing with the president.
Oh, yes. I did the Kennedy Center Honors, and then the producers of the Kennedy Center Honors were going to produce the inaugural gala.
Oh.
And called me just a couple of weeks later and asked me to do that. Of course, I still hadn't got my breath back from the Kennedy Center Honors.
Now, what were you doing on the Kennedy Center Honors? Were you honoring?
It was a tribute to The Who.
Oh,
Yeah.
you sang in a
And I
tribute
said,
to-
what?
What song? What? Yeah.
Well, I don't know their music.
No, I bet you do now.
My husband certainly knows. This was one of his favorite groups.
Yeah.
And the only song was "Love Reign O'er Me," and I said, I can't sing that like that.
Right.
And so the music director Rob Mathis said, "Well, just start singing it," and I just started singing it, and that's
Yeah.
the way it came out.
I see. So he rearranged it for you. Mm-hmm. Great. And then,
And I love the arrangement.
as a result of that, you find yourself doing at the inauguration.
To do A Change Is Gonna Come with John Bon Jovi. It's
Oh.
so good that it was A Change Is Gonna Come, because it was kind of like asking a black chick to fry some chicken. I mean, it was just nothing to do. So I didn't have to think about it, because it was such a daunting thing. Had I had to think about the song, it may not have been good, but I didn't have to think about the song
About
at all.
that
I
song,
mean, it was just-
yeah.
Said you could, happy birthday,
A
maybe.
duet with John Bon Jovi on it, though. How did that work out? Were you singing in harmony with him, or did you split up the lines?
No, we split up the lines.
Okay. And that must have been a big thrill. Were you outdoors doing that?
Yes, and it was below zero on the day of the inaugural. It was so funny because
Yeah.
the little girl Shakira, she came out.
Shakira
She had
from
this little
South
thing
America.
like this on,
Yeah.
and a little halter top and whatever. She said, "Excuse me a minute, I'll be right back." She went back. She came back sensibly. She came back sensibly. I mean, it was just when we were standing on the sidelines waiting to go on for our various things, we were standing on hot stuff to keep our feet warm. It was just But I was so excited, so absolutely excited. I mean, so many things were going on for me. I'm standing right there at the feet of Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slaves. I'm being seen by all the people I've wanted to see me for all of the 50 years.
Yes.
The first black president is the same age as my career. And I'm singing to him. It was just so much going on till, somebody says, well, what do you think about it? It was just so much going on. If I had to learn that song,
So that was, sure, I understand that. You didn't have to think about it. What's left for you is having accomplished that?
Well, now I feel more worthwhile. The worthy thing has to do with that. When you do this, and people keep telling you you're so good, you're so good, you're so good, and no one has ever said anything different for the whole 50 years, it gets discouraging. It gets really discouraging. So what's happening for me now is that I'm being acknowledged. Somebody knows my name. My name comes up in one of Paul Shafer's conversations. You can say, yes, I know her. And that was really all. I never thought in terms of making all this money or being this huge star. I just thought all the other stars would know me. Even if I just thought they would know me because I was a good singer.
Yeah.
And they went on and became stars and didn't even remember me.
Right.
So now the good thing about this for me is that I'm being considered and I'm coming up in conversations, and that makes me feel a part of it and worthwhile.
Well, all right. Well, we hate being pigeonholed. I bet you've had to deal with this all your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, for the first 10 years of my career, I had to be Bettye LaVette. So I had to get past that and then become this other singer. I don't know what box you would put me in. I'm a rhythm and blues singer.
Yeah.
They seem to have taken that and attached it to any black artist in existence. And that just is not true. Mary J. Blige is a rapper. Beyonce is a pop singer.
Yeah.
Diana Ross is a rhythm and blues singer. Aretha Franklin is a rhythm and blues singer. I'm a rhythm and blues singer.
Yes.
Diana Ross is a pop singer.
Right.
I think if you want to pigeonhole people, you should at least find the right pigeonhole.
Yes.
And now the Americana thing, I don't even know what that means.
Now
they're trying to get me to settle for that because I balk so much at being called a blues singer. That just
you've
narrows
certainly
me.
stripped down your sound.
Is that what that means?
Maybe it has something to do with it. Your sound now is very stark. It's very rootsy. It reminds one of the early days. It's nostalgic. It's reminiscent of Americana. Early American.
I understand.
And sound.
Well, I'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think you're a part of it, and not only a part of it, in the forefront of it.
When we think about who was it that wrote "Walk Right In, Sit Right On Down"?
I don't know who wrote.
Cannon.
Who?
Gus Cannon.
Yeah, when you think about a black person doing a song like that, you know that all you have to do is be a singer. You can sing anything you want to sing. And that's what I do. So I'm glad if there's been a category that's been invented that will put you in if you can just sing songs.
Didn't you start
I'd like to be in
off
that.
earlier? Didn't you say earlier today that a good song is a good song?
Yeah, it's just a good song. Yeah.
It sells you in the first, 8 bars of it. Otherwise, it's not a good song.
Right.
Doesn't matter what the genre is.
Right. Well, gosh, if that is a new category, I hope I can be put in it so I can win something for a change.
You have won my love.
Eric Clapton keeps taking my blues awards.
Right.
Which is beginning to be an insult.
I'm telling you. You've taken my blues away.
Oh, baby, thank you.
Talking to you today, it's been such I got to ask you questions I've always wanted to ask you.
Oh, Paul, thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, man, and I got to look at you. What a beautiful outfit.
Thank you, baby.
You could hit a red carpet right now.
Oh, I'm scared of you.
You know.
I'm scared of you.
Or be on a real, let's do a reality show together.
I love it. I love it.
Camera follows us around.
We were talking about a reality show, and we were talking about, I think they've got one about these two young girls who, I don't know whether they're already stars, but they go on the road. They always seem to be getting dressed to go on the road to do something. One sings with a band, one sings by herself. But anyway, I was saying it would be such a contrast if they could show me and what goes on in my day-to-day life, because they have no sense of what it's like to don't be a star. They only have a sense of to show up, though, looking like a star, acting like a star, but to don't be recognized as a star. They only know about the hair and the makeup and the girls dancing behind you and the heels this tall and whatever. Have to wear these jokers at 70 because you got to.
Yeah, tell me about it. What does this title mean, one of your songs that you do on the new record, Undamned? What does that mean?
Well, in my book, there's one of the chapters is buzzard luck. And that's because so much awful stuff has happened to me in my career, not physically, but just situations that have signed with one company and the person that signed me, I get there to record and they've been fired. My manager was shot the moment I started singing. By Mary Wells' husband, no less. At least I can get some publicity out of it now. But
people, it sounds like the movie Chicago, the murder. Roxy Brown.
Actually, it happened in New York.
Oh,
it happened in New York. Herman Griffin and my manager Robert West came here to coordinate the Mary Wells Leaving Motown Act, which was as bad as a murder. But in the interim, he and my manager got into an argument. My manager was shot. I'd only been singing a month, so I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone but them.
This is so really early in your career.
A month into it.
Welcome to the business.
So it's been that way, which is why Undamned appealed to me, because it took me 50 years to find a husband.
All right. Finally found the right guy.
Yeah, 50 years to get the band.
You may not have had the right choice in men.
Up until now. They were the choices that I wanted. They just didn't like me. And that always made it. That always made it unbalanced.
It's not going to work. Yeah.
But now I have the band that I want. I just think I have the greatest band in the world. I have everything that I've looked for all my life. In Undamned, it's been my whole lifelong song. Who'll take me just like I am? I'm just trying to find me somebody to help me get my world undamned.
I can't add anything to that. Paul Shafer is wonderfully gorgeous and talented and soulful. Bettye LaVette, thank you.
Paul, thank you so much for doing this. Wait for me. But if your heart breaks, don't wait. Go on, turn me away. And if your heart's strong, hold on. I won't delay. Oh, wait till I come back to your side. We'll forget about the tears we cried. It's been a long time. Now I'm coming back home. I've been away now, but oh,